Dear Talks. How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're joining from and do well to share the link. Share the link, tell someone to join. It's about to be a beautiful experience again. Welcome to today's episode of Dear Talks. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Okay, so do well to share the link, invite someone, tell someone to tune in. All right, so today we've been having a conversation around some of the topics that were sent to us, and the topics is around, the questions rather are around why wise people make bad choices. You're used to. So we'll be talking about why people make bad choices. Why people make bad choices. And let me just do some of the questions we have here. We have quite a lot of them that you know is under that question, that is under the topic why people make wrong decisions. So the first one here says, "Hi Grace, I have always considered myself a smart and sensible person. My friends often come to me for advice because they believe I make good decisions and see situations clearly. But when it comes to my own relationships, it's like all my wisdom disappears. I stayed with someone for almost 4 years, even though I knew deep down the relationship was not healthy. There were red flags from the beginning: dishonesty, inconsistency, emotional manipulation, but I kept making excuses for them because I loved them and believed they would change. Looking back, I can't understand how I ignored things I would have immediately warned someone else about. Why do I sometimes make, or why do you think, okay, why do you think intelligent people sometimes make worse decisions when emotions are involved?" So this is a question that someone sent in that needs our sincere answer or input to it. So the thing is that sometimes it's often looks so easy for us to give counsel, to advise someone, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, just do it this way, do it this way. And it's just easier said than done, especially when you find yourself in that same situation. And it looks as if all your advice, all, everything you ever knew is just, has been blown away by the thing here, and you cannot, at that moment, you can't even remember, what you used to know, or your default, you know, um, expect, or so, sometimes we have this, if anybody do this thing, this is what I would do. If you have to incentive, this is what I would do. I can't take that, and you find yourself in that situation, and you find yourself doing something contrary to what you have prepared in a way, or what you thought that you would have done. And this often happens to some of us sometimes, just like what this person is saying. She's someone that often give people relationship advice. She helps tell people, no, this is how you do it, this is what you do. But now she's kind of, she found herself in a toxic relationship. And she said ordinarily, she wouldn't have been in such a relationship, but she's still there. And you know, she's just questioning and, trying to see what is really keeping her. So these are some of the things I need you to know, that intelligence does not cancel emotions. Sometimes we think because we are intelligent beings, or I'm an intelligent person and what, sometimes it does not just cancel out our emotions. I need you to always remember that as individuals, that we have, whether you're female or a male, we all have emotions. We all have emotions. And most of the time, especially when it has to do with, situation relating to relationships, our emotions most times is always hyper. And that is why in situations like this, you should be more open to counsel, especially when it's, a relationship situation. Trusted counsel, someone that that is most likely going to tell you the truth, so that you don't just go with what you think is right, because your emotion by that time is already clouded, with all the love and all of that. Especially if it's someone you really, really love, you might not see all of those red signs. Sometimes what people are even showing you is more than the red signs. It's probably a big board sign. That if you look closely, you don't even need to look closely before you see it. The way, those billboard signs are very big on the road, that is how those red flags are. This one, is more than the flag. Is that, that's how the negative or the bad signs are showing you. That is how vivid it is. But because of the emotions, most of the time we do not see this thing. So instead of just beating yourself and just saying, and I used to be an intelligent person, why am I making wrong choices? Especially when it has to do with emotions, people often make wrong choices, and that is why you often need someone else's opinion, a mentor, a coach, is someone that you can trust that judgment, that you, just like the way you're reporting yourself to me, that can fully assess the situation, and someone that you can listen to. All right. And I also need you to know that love can make people see potential instead of reality. And I'm not saying this should be the standard. All right. I'm just saying that because of the situation, peculiarity of situation, because it's a romantic love relationship, and that is what often happen. But is that what should happen? Really, no. Because when you're loving, that does not mean you suspend your thinking, especially when you're seeing the signs. Let me say some of those things. She said these red flags are, she said this person is dishonest, this person is inconsistent, this person is emotionally manipulative. So imagine, it's not something you can just manage. This is a manipulator. This is someone that you probably even manipulate you, or even talk you to do things you don't want to do. This is someone that can, so it's not just a bad habit thing or something that is minor. This is a major red flag. All right. And I also need you to know that sometimes we often attach to who we hope a person will become, because you are open, because you love that person so much, and you are open that they will change. The truth I need you to know is that nobody change because of you. People change because they want to change. So you should not think, oh, probably when I love them more, or when I understand more, when I stay with them more, they will change. No. If the person is not willing to change by themselves, if they're not seeing reasons to change, they are most likely not going to change. And if they change because of you, they can change back to whatever they want to change back anytime. But if they change because of themselves, when they see reasons why they need to change, then the change will be will be something that is true. All right. And I also need you to understand, many smart people that ignore red flags because they don't want their hope to be disappointed. Probably just like what she said. I think she said they've been in relationship for 4 years. So sometimes What can be, keeping you in such a relationship, even though you know this is a bad decision, because you are looking at your investments. Oh, have you invested 4 years of my life? I think I'll just, you don't want my, this is not just a bad choice that is not, so this is a very important one that can affect the rest of your life. This is a lifetime decision. You don't just want to make a decision that, oh, just let me know because I don't want to, break up and start. No, 4 years is nothing compare. 4 years is nothing compared to a lifetime. This is someone you'll be waking up to see every day, doing life with, planning life with, and this person is already a manipulator. This person is, is dishonest. A dishonest person can lie, can do a lot of things. So this is not what you think you want to manage, or something you think, or because I've spent 4 years with this person. This is more than the time. This is about your life. This is about your destiny. This is even far beyond you. It's even about your children. Do you want to raise children with that kind of a person? Do you want to raise your children in that environment with that person? What do you expect a dishonest person to teach your child? Because you need to start thinking beyond yourself. You need to start thinking beyond the present. You need to start thinking beyond the 4 years that you've been with this person. You need to start asking meaningful questions. All right, like, what am I hoping this person will pass on to my children? Or this person that is already dishonest, that means what do you expect? You can't give what you don't have. This is what this person have, so this is what this person will give to your kids. All right. And I also need you to know, last thing I will say about this question is, when emotion becomes louder than evidence, even smart music can make poor choices, but that does not mean you should make those poor choices. And that is why institutions like I said earlier, you have, a mentor, a coach, someone that that, can talk to you just the way I'm talking to you presently right now. Someone you can listen to, because sometimes you know what you should do, but it's almost as if you're lacking the will, the power, the willpower, or you are lacking the action to do or undo. So sometimes you actually know what is wrong, because for you to be asking this question, you already know it is not an ideal relationship. It is not an atmosphere. An atmosphere you should be, because it's going to choke you. It's going to you'll be exhausted. You have to see, it's a work you don't want to don't start what you can't finish. Don't do, especially when you have the power to make choices, especially in relationships like this. You don't want to just patch it and just let me just manage it. We work around. This is one of those things you work around. This is not one of those things you work around. This is what you need to open your eyes, and see clearly. Open your eyes. Don't, I'm not saying you suspend your heart or suspend your, let your love be there, filled with love, but this is not the time to suspend your intelligence as a person. Okay. So the second question I have here says, hello. So 2 years ago, I left a stable job because I wanted to pursue what I believed was a better opportunity. On paper, it looked like the smartest decision. The salary was higher, the company looked promising, and everyone around me thought it was a great move. But within months, everything fell apart. The company became unstable, the work environment was toxic, and I eventually lost the job. Since then, I have been struggling with regrets because I did my research, I asked questions, and thought through the decision carefully. So how can I make a well thought out decision and still end up making the wrong choice? Okay. So with what I read, sincerely speaking, I don't think you intentionally made the wrong choice. I think you played your part, Because with what you said you um you said you asked questions, you did your research, you know, you thought about it carefully, and also other people also believed that that was a better decision. So I think this is just a situation thing that's played out. It's just some things that, you know, are unforeseen. This is just one of those things that just happen, not because of you. It might not be because of you. Okay. So because I would have said, well, how did you ask someone about it? Do you ask people that are already doing the job? Did you seek for counsel? Did you make your research? But you did all of these things already. So I don't think the problem is actually you. So I need you to know that a good decision does not always guarantee good outcome. So the fact that the outcome was not a favorable one did not mean that you did not make a good decision at the time you made the decision. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say. So because you made a decision, even though you did the work, you did the research, you asked people questions, people also, saw that okay, it was a good, it was a good thing to go for to change the job, and you actually did it. But at the end, you lost the job. There might be other things that contributed to you losing the job. That's why you need to start asking questions. What happened? Because now we don't really know what happened. Why did you lose the job? It might not be because of the decision of you changing to the job. It might be something else. It could be a change in the policy of the company. Probably the company is trying to downsize. Probably they're trying to cut expenses, or probably you did something and you were sanctioned. You really need to know why you lost the job. So I don't think I don't think the reason why you lost the job was because you made the decision to take the job. Okay, so we need to know why you made the choice, why you lost the job, rather. But I also need you to know that sometimes good decision does not always guarantee good outcome. So we don't always gauge the decision you make by the outcome. Most of the time, it doesn't work that way, especially in this case. Okay, so it could be something beyond you that happened. It could be something that had nothing to do with you. Like I said, it could be a change in organization policy. People are trying to downsize or reduce costs or whatever. And if you were sanctioned, probably there was some kind of misconduct from your side. That is when you were a part to it. But to say that because you did all the work, you made your research, and you still lost the job, that you make a bad decision, that might not be true. Okay. And I also need to know sometimes we make the best decision with the information available at the time. Like you said, you did your research, so you sought for counsel, you sought for information, and you made the decision based on the information you had at hand. Okay, so it's okay, because a business failed does not mean it's a bad business. Because you started a business and the business failed does not mean the business by itself is bad. It could be wrong timing. Probably you shouldn't have started that business at that time. It could even be everything was right. You did the right business, you had the right partner, you had the right location, but probably the government just decided to change a policy that will affect the business you do. That is not your fault. Anything can happen, sometimes, especially when you've done all that you should, you've done behind the scenes, you've done the work, and still things not still work out. That is life. Okay, I need you to understand that there are some things that are just not within our control. Just like the example I gave, you want to start a business, you've done a visibility study, you've done your market research, you've done everything, perfect location, perfect product, perfect marketing, everything was good, perfect thing. But probably the next government just had a policy that changed the whole game for you. So that is why, when we find ourselves in situations like that, instead of you just blaming yourself, oh, I should have, no, this is the time we now need to, okay, so what can we do from this situation? This is not the time to start saying, oh, we did this, or start shifting blame. That is the situation, in that sort of situation, you need to start looking for solutions, remedies, and that's why most of the time when you're in in a peaceful environment, you start to think ahead. What if this happen? What do we have in place? How do we do this if this happens tomorrow? We don't just always wait for the what ifs to happen before we start taking steps, or have a plan B to say, okay, if things goes wrong. All right. So we try as much as possible to plan ahead for situation. But in this case now, probably what you should have done is, okay, because that's the way life works, all right? That, okay, I'm planning to get this job. What if I did not get this job? What will I do? So probably what you should have done is probably, I don't know, is it that you got the job and you got sacked after starting the job, or you went for the interview and you did not get the job? If it's that you went for the interview and you did not get the job, that means you still had your former job, right? So that is what you need to ask yourself. Okay, now that I'm trying to pursue for another job, should I leave the job that I'm in presently? No. It depends on the kind of job. If it's in a different state, if the policies, there's some jobs that when you're on, you dare not look for another job, like try to work somewhere else. It's either you quit this particular one, then pursue someone else, or elsewhere. So that is what you need to ask yourself. I don't know, like I'm saying, I don't know the peculiarity. Was it that you had the job already and you were sacked, or you were still in your former job and you probably went for the interview and you did not get the job? So it's still a good thing if you had your former job, just continue the job and look for another one. But if that's you quit the one you're doing presently and you now wait for another one, then you now lost that one too. Then that is why you need to start telling yourself, planning ahead, how to, plan if things go south, if things go north, if things goes your way, and if it doesn't go your way, this is what you do, this is what you should do. So it all starts with making wise decisions, and always making sure you do the checks. So let me take, I think this is going to be the last question. So this being said, I am embarrassed to even admit this because I am usually very careful with money. Last year, I invested a significant amount of money into a business opportunity that sounded convincing. Deep down, I had concerns, but ignored them because I was excited about the possibility of making progress financially. Long story short, I lost almost everything I invested. What hurts the most is that I am educated. I should have known better. I saw warning signs, but convinced myself to overlook them. Grace, why do smart people sometimes ignore their own judgments when money is involved? Okay. Before I answer this last question, if you're here to please like this live podcast. Please like, and yeah, please like and share. Tell someone to join. And just in case you're wondering how people get to send their questions, you send your question to voice of grace VOG at gmail.com. Voice of grace VOG at gmail.com. Yeah, thank you. Yes, and subscribe as well. Subscribe if you're yet to subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that anytime I come live like this, you'll be notified that I'm live. Okay, so thank you. Subscribe, like, share. Thank you. So this question is, I feel so sad for this person. You made a poor financial decision, and with some of the things I read, you're kind of you kind of made some bad choices. For example, you said that you saw the signs, you said you had concerns, you said you ignored them, but because their opportunity sounded convincing. Sometimes one of the things, we're not telling ourselves the truth. What I see here, I don't mean to insult or say anything bad to you, but this is just like a show of greed. Because tell me why you will see the signs. Tell me why you will know this is not a good financial decision to make. but because of the returns, because if the outcome was something different, I'm sure you won't be saying what you're saying. You won't be saying what you're saying. If things actually turned out well, if things actually went your way, you wouldn't be saying this. But because it went the other way, now you're not feeling so good. So that's when, when you're making financial decisions, it's not what you do from the place of greed. It is what you do with intelligence, with wisdom. You don't just go into make any financial decision, especially when it's a business or a kind of investment, because of the returns only. And that's why sometimes they make the returns look so juicy. It looks almost, you cannot avoid it, you can't do without it, or you have to be a part of it because of the return. So one of the things I would say is that desperation and excitement could cloud judgment, and that is what actually happened. You were desperate and you were excited. You were desperate. Like I said, it was like a show of greed, and the excitement you had, made you ignore. Even though it's like you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing all along, but because the decision did not, or the outcome did not go your way, now you're looking back and you're like, oh, and I saw this thing coming, I shouldn't have made it. So next time when you're making such a critical decision, especially a life altering decision, this is something that can also, like, I can't imagine how much you put into this kind of investment. What if it was your life savings that you put into it? That's why, if there should be a difference between gambling and making smart decisions. This is almost like you gambled, because this is gambling is that is just, I don't even care. I don't even care what might go wrong. I don't even want to, ask questions. I don't want to even, I don't even want to do my research. I don't even want to understand the market. But because of this return, this is what I tend to gain. Let me just risk it. That is gambling, and that is what you did. It was like you gambled, and that is what often happen. And I don't know the kind of business, I don't know the kind of investment, but sometimes they make it looks almost irresistible, and that's where people. Yeah, thank you so much. And that's why sometimes people, because they can see your greed, people can perceive your greed. I can know when you're a greedy person. That is why they use these things as baits. All of these financial institutions that are almost like a gambling this thing, that is what they do. They use the returns, they use greed, people's greed, they use it as, that's what they use, to catching you and make you feel like, oh, it's just like they're enticing you. You can't get enticed if it's not what's enticing to you. You can only get enticed if it is what you want, and they know, oh, this looks so juicy, or this looks so promising, and it is not what you should have done. So next time you are making a decision, any decision at all, especially a financial decision, it is not one thing you just want to make blindly because of the outcome. You sit down and make wise decisions, intelligent decisions, do the work, ask questions, so that's one of the things I would like to say to this person. And I also need you to know that when people, okay, let me just do something I have here. I said when people want quick progress, they sometimes ignore warning signs, and that was what you did. And one thing I also want to say to you is financial pressure can make people vulnerable. So probably, I don't know the space you were in mentally or financially, because sometimes when you are in a vulnerable state, you make some decisions because you're vulnerable. Probably you're, in a very vulnerable situation, and it makes you to just act out without thinking, even though you know you should think. So you just want to just make decision anyway. Let me just do it and let's just see how it goes. Okay. So I still have some question in this area. Okay, I think I'll just take one more. Let me just take one more. Okay, this person says, have you ever known the right thing to do but still chose the opposite? So there was a season in my life when I knew exactly what I needed to do, I knew the friendship I needed to leave. I knew the habits I needed to change. I knew the decisions that aligned with my values. But instead of doing what I knew was right, I kept postponing it. Looking back, I feel like I betrayed my own wisdom. Why do people sometimes choose what is comfortable over what is clearly better for them? Okay, let me just read the other question so I'll just answer them, okay, together. So another question is, I made a major life decision because of pressure from family, and now I feel trapped. I studied a course I didn't really want because it's made my parents happy. I pursued a career path that looked respectable to everyone else, but it never felt right to me. Years later, I have a good job and a decent income, but I wake up every day feeling disconnected from my own life. Sometimes I wonder if I made decisions based on wisdom or based on fear of disappointing people. Hmm. Grace, how do you know whether a decision is truly yours or something you have been pressured into choosing? And let me take this last question as well. This person says, I don't understand myself sometimes. Whenever something good is about to happen in my life, I seem to find a way to ruin it. I will procrastinate on opportunities. I will overthink simple decisions. I will talk myself out of things I have prayed for. I have almost like a part of me. I'm almost like a part of me is afraid of success, happiness, or growth. I know what I should do, but somehow I keep doing the opposite. Why am I sabotaging my own progress? Hmm. So let's kind of take them one after the other. So the first one is about um this person that he or she knew the kind of friendship they needed to live. They were making bad choices regarding their associations, friendships, you know, or and habits they needed to change, but they are finding it difficult, because they want something familiar, let's say, you're having people in your life, probably friendship that you grew up together, people that you've known probably for a lifetime, and you're like, that this person, you should no longer hang out with this person, right? Because they are, probably because of what they are contributing to you negatively or what they are not contributing to you. Do you understand? Because for every relationship, the truth be told, there should be a mutual benefit. There should be what you're adding to me and what I'm adding to you. So probably this person had done all that. I think we did that in one of our episode, you know. So he or she had done all of this, and oh, this is not the right person to be with. So now, but because they've been with them for a very long time, or because they've been friends and they don't want to probably lose their trust or make them feel bad, this is not what you should do, or you have an habit, this is what I should not do or what I should stop doing. But because it is what that is almost a part of you, you find it difficult to detach. What I need to let you know is that growth is uncomfortable. If what you want really is growth, then you need to embrace a kind of discomfort. Because if what you're always looking for or expecting to feel is comfort when you're pursuing growth, then you're not telling yourself the truth. So if what you really want in your life is growth, in any area of your life, expect some kind of discomfort. Discomfort from the familiar, discomfort from what you are used to, discomfort from, at that point, your focus is not what people will say. It should be about your pursuit for growth. Okay, so this is what I need to tell this person. Understand that growth is sometimes uncomfortable. Then to the person that did a course because the parents, wanted that course for you. Now you have the job. It's not like, oh, now I don't have a job with this course. So you're actually doing well with that part, but it is not what you want to do. You're not feeling fulfilled. And probably as someone like me that, when you find yourself in spaces that it is not, you're not passionate about, you're it's kind of discourage you. Sometimes it can make you start questioning why you're living. So this is what this person is experiencing right now. Even though you studied a course because your parent wanted you to study it, you had a good job, the job is going fine, the pay is fine, it's going well, but there's just this void you're feeling, probably lack of purpose, you're not satisfied, it's not what you really want to do. So what I need you to know is that you've gotten to a point that you need to start making decisions for yourself. I believe someone that had gone to school, probably you were still kind of a minor when you went to school, and probably your friend had the power to choose for you and it is that. But now I believe you're now an adult. This is the time you need to take the bull by its own. Sometimes, I do tell people that, when we say some things about our parents, we blame them. Oh, they made this bad choice. Oh, they did this. Oh, and some people say, oh, it's my background, the background I came from. See, the moment you're an adult, you are now the background. So especially if you're an adult, you're no longer, a minor. You need to take your life seriously. No one will come to save you. Because the rest of your life, trust me, I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old your parents are, but this is the you that you'll be living with every day, looking at the mirror, living every day. Life is too short to live in regret, to live in what if, or to live in I should have. This is the time you can still turn back right now. I don't know if what you want to do, maybe you need to go back to school for it, or what you just need to do is probably take a course, or probably go for an internship, or do a mentorship program for it, and this is the time you can still turn. I believe you just started the job and probably most likely still single, you're not yet married, so you don't have anyone, tied to your boat right now. This is the time you can still make that turn and do what you really want to do, because trust me, it's not just about making money and having a job, it's about fulfillment. A life that is not being fulfilled can lead people to a lot of things like frustrations. You start to and another thing is that you start to see yourself resenting your parents. You don't want to be seeing them as the cause of your sorrow, or the cause of, see, life is too short to be playing a blame game. Life is too short to be playing a blame game, looking forward to blame, or because my parents. You are now the background. You need to now start, making decisions for yourself, because this is the life that you have chosen. This is life you have chosen. So you need to turn back right now. It's never too late. It's never too late to do what is right. Okay. It's beautiful now. You know what you want to do. And I think what you just need is just the push, and I'm giving you this money right now. Go ahead and make that decision. So the last one is about this person that is always procrastinating opportunity. This is what you've been praying for, or probably you usually plan for opportunities, or pray for opportunities, or hope for opportunities. But when this opportunity comes, it's almost like, you're not prepared, and it's like you're sabotaging your hopes, your prayers, and all of those things. All I tell you is that it is not just about hoping and praying and wishing. When you're waiting for an opportunity, you need to do the work. You need to be prepared. Preparation is very, very key. Sometimes a lot of people plan, they hope, they pray for opportunity, but when those opportunity comes, they don't even recognize it, or when they recognize, they don't know how to maximize it because of the glamour of the opportunity, or probably how it came, or from whom it came from. They are just so wild, and they don't know what to do. They're just so confused, and because they are super excited, they are confused in that state, and they lose such opportunities. So you need to be well prepared for opportunities. You need to be very, very prepared. So what I need you to know is that Sometimes people fear success more than the failure. So I don't know why you're sabotaging your opportunities or the things that you prayed for are coming. It will be easy from a place of trauma. Are you responding to trauma in any way, or you're just always excited when this opportunity comes and you forget what to do, or so you need to ask yourself a question: what are you responding to? Are you responding to some kind of trauma? Are you responding to, or it is just simple lack of preparation? Okay, so I'll just close with this: that smart people don't make bad choices because they lack intelligence. Sometimes they make bad decisions because they are human. Emotions, fear, pressure, trauma, loneliness, pride, hope, and insecurity can influence sometimes. The goal is not to never make mistakes. The goal is to become self-aware enough to understand why you made them, and wise enough to learn from them. So what I'm saying in essence is that it's not just about the bad decisions or the wrong choices. It's about what you do henceforth. Now that you've made this choice, what you should progress. Because sometimes when people make wrong decisions, they are there, they are sobbing. Now, they are crying, they are there, they are not moving again. Now, what is the next thing to do? And also try to you know, look back and ask yourself, why did I make this decision? Was it from the place of trauma? Was it because I was lonely? Was it because I had greed? No, with some of the questions we had today, some of those questions were from the place of greed. Some, you're in a relationship because this is not a relationship we should be. Is it because of loneliness? What is really making me make that decision? So you need to ask yourself sincere question and be truthful with yourself. Okay, so and that is what we call it a wrap on today's episode of Dear Talks. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, if you're here to, and turn on notification bell. So share this video with your friends, with anyone that that sometimes, or someone that is probably at the verge of making a bad decision at all, or even if they are not presently, you just want them to learn what you've just learned. If this has blessed you, you've learned one thing or two, I believe someone else will also learn something from it. So feel free to share to them, and till I come again to see your beautiful faces, thank you. To have a beautiful weekend. Bye.